Hey, this is Dan from Running My Journey, sparetirerunning.com. And where have I been? What have I been up to? This is a check in of sorts. So, I'm not sure where I left off and where I was going, but this last few months has been not ideal, has been a failure of many sorts. And I think I talked a little bit about it, trying to make a comeback. I am already sweating, guys. I am already sweating, putting a lot of work in this week and trying to get back to a spot where I can be physically active again. So here's where we're at least right now. And I appreciate everybody that's listening. I was been coaching basketball, and I know I've been talked about that on my other podcast episodes. And we had a pretty successful team. We were league champions, undefeated. Uh, we took second place at a huge tournament. Then we went into the state tournament. We didn't do it as well as we wanted to. We fought hard. It's just some of these other teams were bigger and had more a bench. I just had numbers that we could not compete against. But I'm very proud of my boys. The problem is that ran to late March. It was almost end of March, a couple weeks ago, where I found out that we didn't make it to the national meet that we were trying for. So our season started end of October, like the last week of October, and we're going to mid March. That is a long season. I know in high school, that's not that long for a high. That's the regular season for high school, but for grade school, for being a principal, for doing 1,000 other jobs here, I was tired. I was burnt out. It was a lot of late nights because I was coaching for a couple hours, so I had to do extra work to catch up for my other work. Plus, I'm teaching, so it was getting to me, stressing out, and and the only exercise I was getting was basketball on Thursday nights, and and I'm sorry for my voice. I sound a little raspy to me right now. And then soccer on Friday nights. And it was a couple weeks ago during one of my soccer games. There was this other uh, guy, young kid compared to me, who's a great, amazing soccer player, amazing athlete. Uh, and he was coming, and I was attacking him, and I went to intercept the ball, but my foot didn't get there as fast as I was hoping for. His foot was already moving on, so I kicked the side of his foot, and it just gave me like a pinched nerve in my Achilles. And since then, my Achilles on my one foot has been tighter than tight, and it's been hurting and aching. Once I get moving, I don't feel it as much, but if I've been sitting and then I get up and move, I can really feel, or if I try to stretch it out. So I'm trying to get to the chiropractor, but that's another long story about doctor health insurance changes and my primary doctor, moving multiple times and trying to get established so that I can get a referral so I could go to my chiropractor. So that's in the works. Um, so then I had spring break. Um, I had the whole week off, and I actually took a 95% vacation. I never can take 100% vacation, but this is the most vacation I have done in 10 years. Um, I really try to relax, really be involved in the activities that we are doing, staying off of email. I really don't have work email on my phone for purposes so that I don't get sucked down that rabbit hole. I did have my laptop with me, but I only checked it once a not even once a day because there was a couple days I didn't even check it. I just let it be. Um, Nothing burnt down. Nothing was disastrous at all. Everybody had my cell phone number if they needed me. There was a couple text messages I had to respond to right away, but that's besides the point. I actually got a vacation, and I loved it. It was still stressful at times, as any vacation can be, especially driving. and finding parking spots. Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg is where we went, and the driving was disastrous. I hated it. It was worse than LA traffic, and I lived in California for 7 years. I will take LA traffic any day over that nonsense. It was horrible, but I was able to get out a little bit. I did take one day. Everybody was going to Dollywood. Um, I'm beyond roller coasters these days, and I didn't care for maybe some of the shows that they were going to be. I just didn't want to spend the money on something that I wasn't going to be 100% into. Sadly, my son got sick, my youngest one, the day before when he was driving up the hill to go to zip lining, and started throwing up. And then we thought he was better, but then he wasn't 100% better during Dollywood. So my wife and him actually had to miss most of Dollywood after they got into the park, which was the worst part. You got into the park, you spent about half an hour there, and then he felt like he was going to throw up. But my goal originally, I was going to go to Frozen Head State Park. I wanted to drive, see Barkley Marathon's home place. But when I was looking at the map and it said I was thinking it was going to be like an hour, a little over an hour. It was saying it was going to be close to 2 hours. I'm like, that's 4 hours on a road in one day, plus whatever hiking I wanted to do. And so I'm like, no, I switched over and it was going to go to part of the Smoky Mountains that it had some trails. The night before we were going there, there was supposed to be a driving tour, and we went up there, and there were cars everywhere. Again, this is disastrous. And, and maybe I don't live by enough uh, national parks or trailheads that people enjoy because I did not understand and I found it ridiculous how little parking they had and as many cars. There are cars parked all over the side of the road, and it's a one-way road, so you got to go all the way around before you can start back to trying to find a parking spot. So there was a couple times like we started pulling out of the one like little side off parking lot and started going, and then I see a car backing out of where we just came from. I'm like, oh, we were just a couple seconds later. But anyways, the drive tour, that road was closed. No warning, nothing until we got there. So we went another loop around. We were lucky enough there was 3 cars of us with 3 families that went. We were going to take the driving tour, and there was supposed to be a spot. And actually, it probably wouldn't have worked out when we went on the drive if the driving tour was open. But we were going to take a walk to to a little parking spot where we were able to walk to a waterfall, and that's really what I wanted to see. I wanted to go hiking and go see a waterfall. So we couldn't do that. We parked. We started hiking, and we got not even a mile up the hill, and some of the people were already like, "All right, this is enough." I'm like, "Come on, let's go." But then we were getting up a little bit more, and then the reason the road was closed is because they were doing some trimming, blowing, and dusting, whatever they were doing. But they had a couple bulldozers, a couple sweepers, and so forth. So it looked like there was no way we were going to be able to necessarily go past that. Some of the kids were getting tired, so we turned around and came back. So I thought, well, if I'm not going to go to Frozen Head, I will go to that park and take the one trail that's supposed to be a moderate to hard trail, which was supposed to be about, I don't know, 6 miles worth, and that was supposed to go to a waterfall. And I thought, okay, that's great. Then I found out that technically, starting March 1st, I guess, in the Smokies, you had to buy a parking pass if you're going to park for more than 15 minutes. And I'm like, oh, didn't know that. And so I had to wait for a visitor station to open. Got there as soon as it opened. Was like maybe the third person in line. bought my day pass and headed to that spot. I'm like, all right. I even when I was paying, I was asking the person about the trail and how busy would it be? Do they think, or how many people? And they say, oh, there's going to be hardly anybody there. It's actually a tough trail for most people. They don't realize how tough it is, and so forth. So I'm like, oh, great. So I started going, driving by, go onto that one way road, and noticed that there's a lot of cars here already, and cars kept started parking on the side of the road again. I get to the main parking lot that they have for there, and no parking. I'm like, so they have an alternative auxiliary parking, maybe like a quarter of a mile down that you can park. So I go there, no parking. The sad part is there's like 7 parking spots that say reserved. And I'm such a rule follower that I did not want to park in a reserved spot, and B, I did not want to park on the side of the road and be fearful because they say that they can warn you, they can ticket you, which would become with a fine, or they'll tow your car. And that was the last thing. And knowing to know, probably tow the car because there was probably about 200 cars parked on the side of the road. So I went down the hill, and there was at the base there was a parking spot open, and there was a little nature trail that was by some settlement houses from way back when. So I said, okay, let me just get out and start walking around because I was fed up. I needed to move, and I went on the nature trail. It was only about a mile around, and it was a beautiful nature trail. It was a little, it wasn't just a pathway. There was rocks you had to climb over, and there was a stream that you had to navigate through on logs and rocks. There was a old gold mine, not mine, but a shack that that had the sleuth boxes and so forth along the river. It was beautiful, very flat. So then I just kind of did that, and there was an off trail that kind of went into town. So I started walking a little bit of that, but I'm like, this is not what I wanted to spend my whole day was doing trails that I could do here in Detroit. These are the kind of trails that I do here and around my house. I wanted the mountain. I wanted hardness and so forth. So I thought, okay, why don't I find another trailhead? So I was looking up on my phone, which you hardly get internet there, and I saw, okay, right outside of town, there's another trailhead. I thought, okay, that'll be kind of cool, and then maybe it will be less crowded. So I started driving there. I pull up towards that trailhead, 100 cars. Parking lot was full. They're all over the side of the road, and I'm like, on. All I wanted to do today was hike the entire day. So I started driving, and I didn't know where I was. I just said, okay, there has to be another trailhead somewhere, right? Or so forth. So I also started driving. I started going up the hill or up the mountain, and I just kept going and going up the hill. Every trailhead, hundreds of cars parked all over. Illegally, there's signs that says "Do not park on the side of the street," and they're cars are right in between those signs that say "Do not park there." And the other thing I noticed too is majority of these cars did not have a day pass, and I know for sure they weren't spending their only 15 minutes there. And maybe they were like me that first day, and I noticed some people at the inside getting the passes that they didn't even realize that Smoky Mountain created this rule and law starting March 1st of this year. So I just kept driving and kept driving, and then I was high up. I was probably over 5,000 feet. And Smokies are what? It's about 6,400 feet in the air. So I was getting towards the top there. And I just thought, all right, well, if anything else, if I don't get to hike today, at least I'm going to have an amazing drive by myself. Rocking out to some music. There were some overpasses, like lookout passes, that you could pull off the side of the road. For beautiful scenes, beautiful views. So I did a couple of those, just take some pictures, relax, have a snack, and so forth. And I kept driving up. Um, frustrated every time I got to a trailhead that I thought, all right, this is going to be one. And no, no parking spots. And then I got to the Rockefeller, whatever it's called, part of the new, was it part of the Newfound Gap? Um, and as I was coming around the bend and the parking was on the left, I got in the turn lane. And as soon as I turned in, a car was backing out. I'm like, yes. And I raced right into there, got that spot. I had my parking pass, so I was good there. There was a cop going around nonstop. But let me tell you, this was the biggest parking lot of all of the parking lots spots that I saw all the way up the mountain, and it was packed. Cars were just driving around and around, waiting for another car to leave. There was probably about 1,000 people right there, and I'm thinking, how is there so many people? So I didn't even know where I was at this point. I just saw a beautiful view, parking. I'm like, all right, we're up in the mountains. Let me just walk around up here. And so I didn't even have my backpack on me. I just had a bottle of water and started walking. And then I saw the sign. It said Appalachian Trail. I'm like, let's go. So I just started walking down the trail. There was like nobody at that point. I didn't in front of me, just a ways up. There was it looked like a hiker, like a day hiker that was, or maybe more because he had a big backpack. So it looked like he was going to be spending the night out on the trail somewhere. So I just started walking, and it was the most wonderful hike I have had in my life. It was challenging, rocks, tree limbs, up and down. It wasn't like little kids were doing it, so it wasn't terribly hard. But it was good. It was a good workout. I went probably a couple miles. Out to the front first ridge line of the mountain, and it, and somewhat I didn't have my backpack, so I was like, I should have grabbed my backpack, but I was already a half a mile down the pathway when I was trying to figure this out, and I'm like, no, I'll just go, and so I went up there, had a great time, came back. The the funniest part of this story is I'm walking back, right? And it was getting starting to get in the evening, so uh, I had a long drive, probably an hour drive back down the hill and through the towns to get back where we were staying. So I started coming back, and as I'm walking, I started hearing somebody yelling and screaming. And at first, when I heard it, I thought I heard her yell, "It's a bear," or something about bear. And so I'm like, you know, I didn't have my bear spray with me right then and there, and I don't know if I needed bear spray, but I bought some just to be safe, and I was ready to see everything and watching very carefully wear out the bear because she keeps yelling, and you're up in the mountains, so you don't even know where it's necessarily coming from because it's echoing a little bit. Um, and she just keeps screaming and keeps screaming, and I just keep walking, keeping my eyes open, scanning my area. Any twig I heard, I would jump and look. That one spot there was like a bear cage or something, a large animal cage, trapping cage that they must be, if in case a bear does get too close, they can locate it. But I finally get to the person as they're coming up, and she comes as she's walking past me. She's like, "Did you see a guy with four little kids?" I was like, "Yes." And these little kids were the greatest little kids. They were so cute. We were I saw them a while before that, and they were walking up with their dad with their dad, and the one kid goes, "I'm hungry, man," and he goes, "Dad, is it time to eat?" And he's like, "No, no, it's not time to eat. We had a big breakfast. We're good, man." He's like, but I feel like I'm hungry. He goes, "It's not even lunchtime yet. It's like 2 o'clock at 3 o'clock or something like that at that point in time that I saw them." And so I'm like, "Yeah, I saw them. They're about half a mile up the trail." And the disappointment in her eyes, she was pissed off. ticked off at her husband, who was probably at that point a mile up the trail. Um, and I tried to be encouraging at the end. I said, "Well, they all looked like they were having fun. They were doing a great job," and I don't think she appreciated that much. But then I continue walking down. Spent a little bit of time at there's like a little memorial thing there. Um, when I looked up online afterwards, the pictures on like Google look totally different what it does now. So I want to do a little bit more uh, research on that. But I enjoyed the what started out as a horrible time. I enjoyed. So we finished our trip. Other great part was a 3.5 mile horseback riding trail. I could have been on that horse forever. I loved it. I loved it. Loved it. Loved it. We finished our trip. It was a long week, a lot of driving. Got to listen on my Audible 3 books, which was great too for some personal growth. Uh, which one of the book was all about growth. So I enjoyed that a lot. Come back this week for first week back from vacation. Um, and I was a little worried because one, spent way too much money for during vacation, way too much money. But two, ate like a king. I was feasting on barbecues left and right. We were making stuff, snacks, beer, and so forth. So then I was a little worried though where I was at because I haven't been exercising. I've been very slow and so forth. So I weighed myself and actually I was surprised that I was not more than what the scale said. So this week I've been really focused on drinking a lot of water, uh, eliminating uh, pop or soda from my diet. Even like when we stopped at Culver's, I got lemonade. I know lemonade's not the greatest thing for you, but compared to everything else, I said that's what I'm going to have. Watching what I eat, but most importantly is trying to go to bed. Not necessarily earlier than usually I do, but go to bed and not have any food late at night. Tonight is going to be a test because I got basketball tonight, and I'm going to see. I mean, usually when I get home, I'm a little hungry, so this is going to be a great test to see how it goes. But I am happy to say, uh, even after today, Thursday's pizza day at school. So even after my pizza lunch today and Tuesday's tacos, um, I am down 10 pounds from last week. Now, it's not where I want to be. It's not where I should be based on my goals or even my original plan of working out, but I'm excited. I'm remotivated. I'm refocused. One of the books I read, listened to was uh, all about knowing your why and really focusing on your mission statement and why you do things and so forth. So I'm back in the saddle again, pumped up. Went on a hike or walk the other day. I'm starting to ride my bike again. So I'm excited to be getting back in the 10 pounds in a week has helped a lot. Um, so I'm looking forward to it. I signed up for the Milwaukee Lakefront Marathon in October. I'm there. So it what has been a horrible first part of this year. Well, the first part was good. The last month and a half has been horrible. I'm excited about the future. So I want to thank you guys for listening to Running My Journey. This is my journey, but I want to take you with me. I want to help me to hold or have you guys help me be accountable. And if this helps you in any way to know that somebody else is out here struggling, somebody else fails a lot. And I just try to keep going, keep pushing forward, keep every step counts. That's why we have that. Every step counts. I'm looking forward to it. Reach out to me, Instagram, spare_tire_running, and I will be here to help you out. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, night, run, bike, hike, whatever you're doing. Stay awesome.